bases drop for Tuesday thoughts on soccer down here. Jon here, Jarrett there. And Jon apologizes off the top because he got his summer cold and sounds a little bit more bassy than normal. So this will be the voice that'll carry you through all of the programming today. It'll be Jarrett and me here for Tuesday thoughts, and then later this afternoon it'll be the weekend review for USL League One, USL Championship. So that stuff will be up on the network coming up in just a little bit. There's a lot to talk about, and before we get into your opening kickoff, Jarrett, other than me and my opening kickoff telling folks that I've got a head cold, I have one other thing to do for opening kickoff on my end. And it's brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, the opening kickoff and the morning kickoff, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And you can follow along at Kickoff Coffee CO on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Reminder, and thanks to everybody who has taken part in this. For those of you that dig your coffee and have dug your Kickoff Coffee, thanks for investing in Kickoff Coffee. Use the code SoccerDownHere15, and you get 15% off of your purchase. But remember, 10% of the proceeds head toward youth development for the sport of soccer. Very, very cool stuff that Kickoff Coffee is doing on a daily basis for the game that we love to talk about on a daily basis. So kickoffcoffeeco.com, Kickoff Coffee CO on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And so, Jarrett, before I send it to you and your morning kickoff, you can go ahead and open your mic. That's fine. It just goes to the inherent stupidity of yours truly. When it comes to laundry, I admit that I'm fairly anal retentive about it. When I was a bachelor, you know how we are when we're single. And it's just one of those things where you sit there and you're going, okay, so when the laundry basket is full, that's when I'll do laundry. And so for me, I had 3 laundry baskets when I was single. And so it would be like when the 3 laundry baskets are full, that's when I do laundry. Now that I'm a married person, I get really anal retentive when the basket is full now, just the one. And I am a laundering fool. I'm a laundry fool when it comes to everything going on here at Office HD. I got my first lesson in a very long time about checking pockets when you're putting things into the washer.
What did you do?
9 T-shirts fell victim to a future of Rit with bleach. 4, not 1, 2, or 3, but 4 Sharpie pens were in a pair of shorts that went into the washer and made it all the way through to the dryer. So 9 T-shirts fell victim to Sharpie pens during the last round of laundry. So lesson for everyone here, public service reminder for your Tuesday. Check the pockets of all your stuff before you put it in the washer. 4 Sharpie pens.
Reminds me that
9 T-shirts.
At a time I left my phone in my hoodie pocket in high school. And this is back in the mid 2000s, like 2005ish, when cell phones could survive basically a nuclear holocaust.
Yeah.
These weren't smartphones. These things were made of like somehow some sort of rugged plastic, like the old Nokias, where you could run them over and they'd be fine. Yeah, this was a threw my hoodie in the wash and then heard clump, 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 clump. Ah, damn it. Yeah. Always check your pockets, kids.
Always check.
And if you're on the younger side of things, and you didn't get to experience that Nokia life, ooh, buddy, that was an interesting time because
absolutely true.
Like you had a limit on how many times you could text every month, and that phone could go 3 or 4 days without charging.
That is absolutely true. But so that public service, always check your pockets, kids. Your opening kickoff, sir, this morning yields information with what?
Opening kickoff this morning yields information with something I'm sure we're going to talk about a bit more, Jon, because I'll take your opinion on it, and I'll take anyone's opinion if they want to tweet at us. Jump in the Discord for Soccer Down Here if you want to. Let's talk about the pro admission from yesterday because it's so weird. And look, Seattle Twitter was absolutely on one. Seattle Twitter was out in front doing some turfing with the decision over the weekend, the Colorado-Seattle decision. Now, if you don't know this play, if you haven't seen it, long story short, Colorado commits a foul right around midfield. So Seattle wins a free kick. Colorado player kicks the ball back about 15 yards. So it's time wasting. Should have been a yellow card. So what should have happened there was yellow card for not allowing them to take the free kick, bring the ball where it was, and proceed. So he kicks it back 10, 15 yards. Credit to Nick. And so this is not a black and white thing. There's a lot of gray in here for me.
Right.
Credit to Nicholas Lodeiro for picking this ball up, putting it down, and then kicking the ever-loving bejesus out of it and getting it up the field quickly. Colorado had switched off because they saw the ball that was 15 yards back from where they had, where the foul had occurred. They didn't expect Seattle to be able to take that free kick. Seattle takes it quickly. Colorado switched off. They absolutely switched off. And Seattle takes advantage and gets basically a 2-on-2 and eventually scores a goal and scores what ends up being the tying goal in that game. Shortly thereafter, Seattle actually gets a red card for throwing the ball out of play. This is a very weirdly officiated game, but Seattle ends up winning the game ultimately with a second half penalty. Nicholas Lodeiro scores. It's a good gritty win for them, but ultimately, it's such a weird call because you're so used to the official stopping things, and because we've seen this in a lot of games, and you watch a game this week, you'll probably see it, especially with a ref who gets really high on his own supply and starts demanding that everything be done exactly where it happened. Like they'll take the most inconsequential free kick and move it 5 yards, move it 3 yards. Oh, that throw in was 2 yards too far, too forward. Take that throw in back 2 more yards. But in this instance, Colorado kind of kicks the ball away and they just kind of switch off. Like they're just like, okay, we'll go get set up while they put the ball down. And why is the ball being kicked? Why is the ball flying? Why is it in the back of the net? It was a weird situation. So what happens yesterday, if you haven't seen, is Pro comes out and admits that this was done incorrectly. Now, this is not a reviewable play with VAR. This is a thing with sports that has review where you kind of have to set a limit on what can be reviewed and what can't be reviewed so that you're not stopping every 5 seconds to review plays. But this one cannot be reviewed. It's a situation where Pro comes out, makes a statement on a Monday midday, that they goofed on this, which is wild because we're used to seeing them slip this out on a Saturday morning or a Friday afternoon. Look, at some point, Pro has to start publicly, and you don't have to flog them in the town square. Let's not overreact with a straw man, but they've got to at some point start coming down on these officials who are making these mistakes, because we've seen this happen in a number of games, and we've seen it happen this year with a number of calls where they've admitted they've gotten stuff wrong that has severely impacted outcomes and will end up severely impacting the playoff race. They did it last year on decision day and changed the Western Conference playoff picture because they did not get a call right. You want people to have more respect for Pro and to have more, less of a conspiratorial view of things.
Yeah.
Then you got to start, you don't, like I said, you don't have to flog them in the town square. This isn't medieval times. But you got to start holding guys accountable publicly. And, it can just be a statement of, so-and-so got it wrong. They won't be officiating a game for, however long, or send them down to USL. I don't care. Do whatever you got to do. But the fact that it keeps happening and the fact that there is no scene punishment for the fans who are watching it. Yeah, there's a reason fans get so bent out of shape about it. It's because it's just so annoying and exhausting because you just know it's gonna happen again the next week.
Here is the play for those of you who missed it, courtesy of our friends at Fox 13 in Seattle and Major League Soccer.
Lodeiro rode towards Bruin. Abubakar gets there first this time, but illegally so. And Robin Fraser.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I thought Abubakar had good position, but I like playing it quickly.
Madranda, he gets in behind Madranda. The ball played for Morris. And it had to be that man, Jordan Morris. He's been electric in the first half. One word, and the Rapids are furious with how quickly that
was they're furious that it was allowed to play that quickly. But
So for me, my biggest thing is you've got to, if you're center ref here, you've got to bring the ball back to the spot of the foul. It can't be just 15 yards away and we'll go ahead and restart. No, it's literally stop. I want the ball, lay it down. And yes, I know that gives Colorado the opportunity to sit there and get ready. And I know that that's what Seattle was doing in getting everything, starting quickly to kind of have them on their heels, or in Colorado's case, they've kind of let down a little bit, waiting for things to settle back in. But no, this was a huge, huge, huge mistake for Pro in this particular instance. And I think you're spot on here, where there has to be some kind of accountability, where, we've seen instances earlier in the year where center refs have made what, I think what is safe to say are egregious mistakes. Yet you have no public accountability that's a part of this communication thread. You'll have officials not be a center ref for a while, and then you'll sit there and it kind of gets lost in the sauce because you have 15 matches a week that you've got to sit there and sift through. But, someone gets put, quote, on vacation or whatever. They just kind of fade out to the side and they're not a part of a rotation. Someone from USL Championship gets their shot, there has to be, if you are to bring the fans along for this ride and you want to try to grow this league on the world stage, you've got to have public accountability for your center refs. And I don't care how many years they've been a part of the system. Everyone makes mistakes. No one, short of Iron Byron, is absolutely 100% perfect. And when these instances happen that can cause playoff races to tumble one direction or another, where, you and me and Jason and Mike and everyone here and Nick, we're all talking about oopsies. And we use the word oopsie as kind of this side door, nodding of the cap, where it's really more than that, but we emphasize the fact that it was another oopsie. If this influences another playoff race, it will be the second year in a row in the Western Conference that you will have had something go down that was influenced by officials, yet we don't see any accountability on the backside of this. And that, to me, is the biggest thing here. Right now, just to let everybody in on things. Colorado.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Well, I was just
go.
I'll map up the number. I'll mop up the numbers here real quick. So Seattle, with the win, got to 29 points, broke a 3-game losing streak. They're 9th in the table, but they're now only a point out of the playoff picture. Had this been a shared result, Colorado would have been to 25. It would have moved them up to a tie with Houston in 11th. They'd be 5 points out of a playoff spot. Seattle would then be 3 points out of a playoff spot, chasing right now after Portland's 22nd match and Colorado's 21st. So you've got either 12 or 13 matches to go, and instead of Seattle chasing Portland and LA and Nashville and Dallas, 3 points separating 9 from 6, you now have a situation where Colorado has to claw that much more. And if it's a point or two that is a difference here, the second year in a row in the Western Conference, we've had an oopsie that has been part and parcel to this discussion. This cannot happen in the public sphere. It cannot happen in the public space, and there has to be some accountability here.
And it's a weird one because it's a big goal. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out. The whole game was kind of weird because Seattle ends up winning it. Seattle's down a man for a chunk of that game.
Yeah.
That part of it falls on Colorado not doing their job. Which Colorado's an inconsistent team. That's going to happen. But it's such a weird thing because it's not a VAR situation. VAR can't go back and look at that decision by the official.
Right.
You just kind of roll with it. But then what you're left with afterward, which is, it's just the rules on it. But what you're left with afterward is a situation where you're looking at the official going like this, man, it's not quite 101, but it's damn close to 101.
Yeah.
About take the free kick where it was done. And like I said, full credit to Nicholas Ladero, because Ladero put it down, saw that Colorado was switched off, and hit a damn inch perfect pass. It's 50+ yards.
Yeah.
Ladero deserves a ton of credit for that. Seattle deserves a ton of credit for taking advantage of the situation, because this is something that happens. Is when there are mistakes, you have to take advantage of them. When there is good luck that comes your way, you have to take advantage of it. It's what Atlanta didn't do Sunday night when LA is throwing away opportunities in front of the net, and Atlanta never takes advantage of it.
Yeah.
You got to, and Seattle did that. It's a poor job by the official in that moment. I was surprised to see Pro make a statement on a Monday and not wait till the weekend, because they're usually very good about waiting. And I'm sure they'll have it in their weekly. Well, actually, I'm not sure they'll have it in their weekly thing, and that might be why they did. Well, there's no VAR discussion, because that's a lot of times one of the cool things they do in that video that Greg Barkley releases every week is when they choose to do it, you can hear the VAR discussion. That's what pissed me off so very much about the Atlanta-Miami game a couple months ago, where you have the non-penalty given, and then you have Pro come out at the end of the week and say, okay, that was the wrong decision. His process was wrong on this. And then you also get, Andrew Wiebe and Charlie Davies sitting there talking narratives, because they've turned the instant replay segment into an entertainment gimmick, as opposed to, an informative thing where they can look at something and tell you what the bylaw is.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can give opinions on some of it, but don't create narratives with it, because those narratives end up driving the rest of the week. And then you have to get the statement at the end of the week from Pro about how it was incorrect, but then they never include that audio, because I would have been fascinated to hear what that audio was in that situation. There's no audio in this one. So maybe that's why they do release it on Monday and just get it out there and get it out of the way. And we'll see what the end of the week looks like. But I do love that segment they do. I wish they were publicly holding referees accountable, but I do like that segment. I just wish they do it more often and with more plays when needed, where you can hear the process between the VAR and the official on the field and hear what they're hearing and kind of see what they're seeing, that kind of thing. It's a good look into the window, and I hope they do more of it. A bit of transparency would go a long way. And you can't be transparent about literally everything, because it's just not how it works.
Well, and Nico Moreno and I got into this discussion last week about the philosophical nature of it, and how do you make things better. And I had posited that if Major League Soccer, and I know they won't do this, because once again you're opening too many doors and you're having folks staring at all of what's going on. You're seeing how the sauce is made. That much like it was, I want to say it was in XFL 2.0, where you heard the discussion between the head referee and VAR live. You heard the discussion about what VAR is looking at, and the discussion with the referee as to, all right, so here's what I saw. What did you see? I'm looking at it now. I'm looking at it. Here's the play, and here's the discussion. I would love for it to be like XFL 2.0. I don't think we'll get there, but somewhere in the middle perhaps could be a way to do it. And for those of you that missed the discussion that Nico and I had, you can go back into the library here on the network and go back to Thursdays with Nico, where we discussed how to make sure that there is some kind of accountability. I'd love for it to be like XFL 2.0, where it's a live discussion and you pull everything away and the announcers dump out, and there's a camera in the room, VAR mic is hot, center F mic is hot, and you're hearing that discussion. I would love for something like that to happen, but I think that with an individual in any sport that has control over a situation, the last thing you want to do is give up control in any kind of a discussion where you could be exposed for making a mistake. And I think that that's why you won't see something like that.
Yeah, it's possible. And I think it does humanize the officials sometimes when you're able to do it. This is more for football down here, but XFL 2 did some stuff right. But I think and John, I don't know how you feel about this. I think a lot of people were just burned out on spring football, because I think we did like 3 out of 4 years with a different spring league, and it's just exhausting to keep staying invested. But we can do football down here later. Bring back an Atlanta team. If no other reason, I want to see Aaron Murray throw 3 interceptions in a game and a half again, because, oh, buddy, the Atlanta Legends.
Woo.
Well, yeah. They also, I mean, to be fair, the Legends had everything go against them, because Brad Childers dipped right before the season.
Yes.
Good old Brad Childress.
You had Michael.
He looked like the teacher from The Incredibles.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, everything was downhill for the Legends from the absolute beginning. But that did not stop Steve Spurrier from getting a championship ring made for him and his Orlando Apollos for winning the AAF and being the team with the best record by the end of it all. But yeah, that's football down here. That comes on at 3:30 on Wednesday mornings. A couple of pieces of news this morning before we get into the weekend that was. And LAFC is making a lot of noise, or at least there are assets attached to LAFC that could be making a lot of noise and will build up. You found this morning, courtesy of our friends at Top Bin 90, that Charlotte is interested in Latif Blessing. Charlotte also this morning has waived TT Ortiz, so there might be a 1 + 1 = 2 there down the line. But LAFC, looks like Latif Blessing is gaining interest from Charlotte. Charlotte needs a lot of help, especially on the road. And the other piece of news involving LAFC, Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez is apparently gaining interest from NYC, Nashville, and LAFC. Jarrett, you saw this first and jumped on it, and so go for it.
Okay, so when it comes to who's invested and who's interested and who's not, take some of it with a grain of salt. Now, Taylor Twellman's backed up the LAFC one. I can buy that. It fits what they've been allegedly looking for. Granted, they have a very good striker who they would surely have to move to make this happen. Who's scoring at like an insane clip.
Yes. Chicho Arango, yes.
Yeah, Arango's been absolutely out of his mind. Which makes me feel like this is like well, are you sure you want to do this situation? Although don't get me wrong, like it's no slight to Luis Suarez. He is one of the best to do it in this era.
Yeah.
Biting insanity aside, like genuinely brilliant technical player, brilliant striker. But I would say take it with a grain of salt with some of these guys. Because some of it might be trying to play teams off each other. Nashville would be interesting. They just brought in Shaq Moore to kind of shore up the defense. But Aki Loba has not been that guy. Like we could do an entire thing about DPs who have missed. And man, Aki Loba's going to be part of that because he just hasn't been that guy that you've been expecting him to be. Aside from that, New York City could fit if you wanted to try and replace Dati with Luis Suarez. I don't know how I feel about it. And like I said, I don't know with some of these, I take a grain of salt because I don't know how much of it is just playing teams off each other in the public sphere. Nacional is still heavily linked to Suarez. If he came here, I would love to see how LAFC did this because I would wonder if they would try and clear a DP spot to make this happen. Let's see, Blessing's an interesting one because there was that hubbub a couple weeks ago where like Blessing posted something where he was like disappointed or like unhappy and like everybody read into it and he's like, no, everyone overread it. It was something else and it was kind of weird. But I think he would help Charlotte become better. And Charlotte does need help. And Charlotte needs help not just with him though. I think they need help on the depth side of things because they have they've given up 7 goals and they went through a stretch where they gave up 7 goals in 90 minutes between Miami and then running into the Toronto Buzzsaw.
Yep.
And I think Charlotte ultimately will be okay. Like they're not magically transforming into 2017 Minnesota. That's not happening. Charlotte's better than that. I think that some of that is regression because Charlotte has been due to kind of regress a bit to the mean. But it's also a thing with Charlotte where they got to get more depth, and that's understandable because that's the thing of being an expansion team is you don't always have that depth.
Right.
And I think they still have to get more of that depth, and they'll have it more next year. And I think you'll see them jump next year. Wherever the chips may fall this year, that's to be determined. But I think wherever they fall, they stand a very good chance to be even better next year because they'll be able to invest in more depth and build more onto the roster. And that lack of depth is really going to, I think, show as you get into August and September, these hotter months, get a little bit of match compression to deal with. It'll be weird. But yeah, as far as to take this train back on the tracks.
Huh.
Luis Suarez, MLS, has been talked about forever. Looks like it might not be Miami, which they still have Campana. But y'all thought Ernst, if he goes to LAFC and it's not a DP deal, if y'all thought Ernst Tanner got out of pocket before when he made comments about LAFC and the salary cap, man, that man is going to write a manifesto on LAFC, and he doesn't care about the fine. And I wonder if he'll be the only one to do it.
Oh no.
The most hilarious scenario here, by the way, is if LAFC does this and somehow doesn't win MLS Cup, because they should already probably be your prohibitive favorites. Yeah, you're closing the books. You're closing betting on that one if they bring in Luis Suarez. And if they somehow don't win, oh my. Oh my.
John Thorrington will be catching the slings and arrows of everybody if this next
outrageous misfortune
was to happen. Then it still doesn't happen because once again it's a one and done. It's knockouts.
It's so tough. Like we can talk about it till the cows come home, but man, playing in MLS Cup playoffs is not easy. It's tough. It's a one-off. I mean, you saw Tata Martino get super hella pragmatic to get it done in 2018 in a fantastic way. Frank de Boer's system fit in 2019. You were undone. Sam Jones continuously tortures me. Not directly, indirectly, by posting the XG chart from that Toronto Atlanta game, because it is comically tilted Atlanta's way in the 2019 Eastern Conference Final. And you took some pragmatism with that. Like, winning, it's tough. It's tough to win it, especially playing all out, psychotic style. Like New York City last year, let's not forget, New York City got some breaks, man. Remember, they played a Philadelphia team that was missing like half of their team because of COVID protocols.
Because of COVID protocols, exactly right.
And they got lucky, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I hate when we do this, because it's like this mindset of like, we don't want to admit someone got lucky. It's like it's a bad word. No, it's okay. You don't win anything without getting luck at somewhere along the lines, and it might be a little break, it might be a huge break, but something has to go your way at some point. You in this cosmic game of musical chairs, at some point, for you to succeed, that music is going to stop when your ass is right over the chair, and all you have to do is fall. And that's okay, because it's better than the alternative.
Yes. Being kicked out of the game and having to watch a game that you thought that you should have won. Because you were the musical chairs champ in elementary school, and you knew how to. Just to give you,
this is getting personal for you, I can tell.
Yes, it is. But that's neither here nor there. Charlotte Football Club, by the way, has a 3-match stretch in 8 days coming up in a couple of weeks.
Man, I could see them winning a couple too, just because they'll like grit it out. But it's gonna be. That's going to wear on your body, especially when you don't have the kind of depth. Man, that third game could just be, it could be like when we watched Atlanta United 2 do their, basically a 4,000 mile stretch.
Yeah.
It just cripples your body. And then by the time you're done, you're falling down because your body is just wasted out.
Yeah. And so here's that stretch, the 3-match stretch for Charlotte, just as an idea. On the 13th, it is MLS After Dark at the Bank against LAFC.
Jesus.
Then,
please, that might be Luis Suarez game too.
Yeah. Then, midweek, you have to travel cross country to play NYC at Red Bull Arena.
Okay, if you're Charlotte, you have to go to the MLS schedule makers and tell them to drop a pin and square up, because that's ridiculous. I don't care. Like, man, that's a ridiculous schedule design. Like, that's borderline malicious from the MLS schedule makers to make you play LAFC and then in the midweek go play Red Bulls. Red Bulls, I mean,
go play NYC at Red Bull.
Oh, I'm sorry, NYC. Well, still, man, like, and how do I know what NYC will look like? Because they'll probably do something.
And then you go home on the weekend and play Orlando at your bank.
Okay, great. Then you get an Orlando team that Orlando can't figure themselves out. No one knows where Orlando is other than basically a giant red flag. They lost to Philadelphia over the weekend, but they should have gotten it. If you played that Atlanta game 10 times, I think they get absolutely thumped out of the building, 8 of them.
Yeah.
And I think it was Matt Doyle said, all the red flags are there for Orlando, and then they're just kind of meandering through these games sometimes. And I don't disagree with him on the red flag thing. Like, all these red flags are there that, like, you're not what you should be because you have the talent to be more. If that sounds familiar to you, hi, welcome to Soccer Town here.
Yes.
We're working through some stuff.
Yes, we always do. It is a workshop, by the way. It is a perpetual 24-hour workshop here. But yeah, that 3-match stretch, you mentioned depth, and that's why I went into the Charlotte schedule just to see that one section of compression where, at LAFC, MLS After Dark, cross country to play NYC at Red Bull Arena, then you get to go home. Excuse me?
That's cruelty.
Thanks for dropping by. That was, I had to look at that. But yeah, right now, Charlotte has waived TT Ortiz, apparently interested in Latif Blessing from LAFC, and LAFC and Nashville and NYC are apparently in the discussions for bringing in Luis Suarez. So that seems to be the biggest news of the morning when it comes to Major League Soccer. Let's get back into the weekend that was before you have to go, and I read.
Let's do that
in about 20 minutes. Looking at the weekend that was, we can, I'll tell you what, let's do this. Let's just go from the absolute beginning, because once again, it proves that when you and I do the weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming, we don't know a damn thing about juice boxes and what lays out here. I mean, NYC in the Tati Castellanos salute to greatness match, they get the win. They win 2-0. And then Toronto, and we've been talking about Charlotte a lot this morning. Charlotte goes to Toronto and just gets absolutely overwhelmed, 4-0, and it didn't even seem that close.
No, it didn't. And look, I said it during like halftime. Like, any great comeback or any great blowout requires two teams working together, and together being a fluid term here, because when I say together, I mean somebody's doing everything right, somebody's doing everything wrong. You don't get a 28-3 without Atlanta completely, falling apart, along with New England getting literally everything breaking their way. And you don't get some of these like 7-0 games we've seen without, like, one team has to be on one and the other team has to be a complete mess. And that's what you got. And I get it was only 4, it wasn't 7, but man, Toronto was out for blood, and Charlotte was happy to cut themselves open a bit and offer up that blood.
And you got to see the genius, at least this week, of the transactions that were made. Bernardeschi, part and parcel. And who is this Michael Bradley that we saw, by the way?
That's a Michael Bradley that has been surrounded by Italians again and now thinks he's back at Roma, which pray for us all if that's what's going to happen, because Michael Bradley at Roma was solid. If that Michael Bradley is back, I don't know that it is long term. He's still capable of those moments, and they're hilarious when they happen. Let's see if he's able to consistently make it happen. But yeah, these moves were good. Nobody was questioning the offensive moves. What we're questioning was they still don't have a defense.
Oh.
And they're going to play a team that actually shows up to play, and we're going to get some like 4-3 games out of Toronto, and it's going to be a fantastic neutral watch.
Yeah, that one's so. If you have a way to watch Toronto FC, I would recommend it when it comes to having a second screen available or something like that, and making sure that that they are your must watch for various reasons, to see what kind of a car crash either they create through their own prowess, or the car crash they create because of their lack of defense. So that would be something that we keep an eye on when it comes to Toronto FC. Philadelphia won on the road. They won 1-0 in standard Philadelphia fashion. So I'm sure that if anybody watched it, the game probably set folks in ready for naps and things like that. Cincinnati and Nashville, they drew at 1, and Nashville once again at a plus 238 for the draw. Nashville's not really getting full points right now, and Cincinnati.
Nope.
we've seen, Cincinnati kind of hanging around. We're thinking, okay, when is Cincinnati going to regress to the mean? Frankly, Cincinnati has drawn 4 of their last 5. So they're just kind of plodding along, getting a point here, a point there, a point here, and a point there. And right now they're in the 7 spot. And I know that when we looked at their hot start, we're sitting there saying that they're going to regress to the mean. They're going to come back to earth. But Nashville right now is part of that group that we were talking about in the Western Conference, where 3 through 9 are separated by 5 points. And we've been talking all season long, and this will not change, about how crazy things are going to be as you're chasing playoff spots. With the West, Minnesota United, 34 points there in 3rd, all the way down to Seattle in 9th at 29. 5 points separating 3 through 9 in the West right now. And Nashville, who they don't know who they are on a daily basis. Here's their last 5. Draw, loss, win, loss, draw. So they're a 1 win in their last 5, 2 draws and 2 losses. And so that kind of I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase it. It's like it's an EKG machine right now. It's just like, okay, here's a heartbeat. Nashville right now, if they have a bad week, like that schedule compression that we saw in mid-August, if they have a bad week in a couple of weeks, they could be looking up into the playoff picture instead of being in it right now.
I think Nashville will be fine long term. They still have a lot of home games that to wrap up this season. They should be fine. If they don't get into the playoffs, that is classified as a monumental failure because they're in a position right now. They're going to have a ton of home games. They should be okay. Cincinnati is going to be one that I feel like is going to look back and really regret some stuff in the same way that Charlotte's going to look back and really regret that Miami loss. Because Cincinnati's sitting in 7th, they're drawn 4 of 5.
Yeah.
Turn 1 or 2 of those into wins, and they get a little bit of elbow room in the playoff picture. And I do wonder if they're going to end up regretting all of that by not getting in there.
Well, I mean, you look at those. Let's look at the draws. The draw was you had the last draw on the board. That was at TQL. Then the 2-2 draw at home against Vancouver. The 1-1 draw at home against Red Bull. And then you had the 2-2 draw on the road at New England. And so you're looking at the last 3 draws in a row have been at TQL. Those, to me, are points left on the table.
Yes, agreed. How they deal with that going forward remains to be seen, because they're going to actually have to turn some of these into wins. And this is a thing that gives you hope if you are a team that is below the playoff picture right now. Looking at you, Atlanta. Looking at you, a Miami even.
Yeah.
You're looking at this going like, okay, the teams above us have not run away and are still within strike. Against all odds, Atlanta is 4 points out of a playoff spot right now with a game in hand on a number of the teams in front of them.
Right.
Irrationally still in this, because if some of these teams had taken care of business, Atlanta wouldn't be in this situation. Miami might not be in this situation. Toronto might not be in this situation. But the teams above them, those teams at the edge of the playoff picture, Cincinnati, just refuse to win games and basically double tap the teams below them.
Yeah. So this is where we're going to continue with the craziness all the way through. We mentioned 5 points from 3 through 9 in the West. Right now it is 6 points, 4 through 12 in the East. 5 through 12. 5 through 12 in the East, separated by 6 points. 3 through 9 separated by 5 in the West. So that's what you're looking at right now.
Yeah.
Other results on the board as we get into MLS cliffhanger here. Crew and Revs, goalless draw. For those of us that started Cucho and Lucas Zelarayan in fantasy, that really didn't help us. So those of us who started those 2 individuals and captained one would like to thank both of these clubs for the
that'll learn you
output. Exactly. CF Montreal Impact. CF Montreal, soon to be Impact, probably, hopefully, maybe.
God, hopefully. Bring it back.
Yep. Got the 2-1 win against
Heathens.
Yes, you got the 2-1 win against DC on the road. LAFC 2-0 win against Sporting Kansas City. That's not the surprise in this at all. It's not a surprise. LAFC close to even money. Sporting at home was a plus 245, and I have no.
Sporting looked good for 45 minutes.
Yeah, and then unfortunately,
and then they didn't.
You had to play another 45.
Yes.
But you're looking at Sporting right now, and I know that we've discussed this ad infinitum ad nauseum, but right now, 5-5-13. You've lost 2 in a row. You've only scored 19 goals this season. Yes, I know we've talked about not having Ilie as being a part of this because you've given up 40 goals this year. And you are one of 3 clubs that have given up 40 or more goals this year. San Jose and DC have both given up 43. So you are in a league of 28 teams. You are 26th in goals allowed. You're at the bottom of the table in the West, and you're just looking up at everybody else, and you can't just rely on Daniel Shalhoub and Johnny Russell to put the ball in the back of the net for you at a minus 21 in goal difference. I know that this is probably going to be one of the biggest storylines of the offseason once the final 11 matches are played for Sporting Kansas City. But Peter Vermes, he has earned the right to call his own shot. That is absolutely true. But right now, you're dead last in the West. And I wonder what the future is in Sporting Kansas City for a lot of players on that roster and for the man who's in charge. I mean, I know it's one of those.
He's earned the right. You're not going to blow him apart.
No.
How he builds this next year will be very interesting because if he isn't able to turn it around, I mean, maybe you start looking at, is it getting stale in Kansas City? Because Peter Vermes has been there, since Jesus wore sandals.
Yes.
I'll be interested to see how the build goes next year because, not only do you have to rebuild a couple things, you have to you have to make sure you add the depth needed so that you don't end up in this situation.
Yep. Minnesota continues to win. I guess that's the magic of signing that contract extension. Minnesota beats Houston by the score of 2-1. No Emmanuel Reynoso, considering he picked up a knock in the Everton match. He was not the only one to pick up an injury in the Everton match. And it was a nasty tackle that got the end of the season for, was it Ja'Cory Hayes, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, and that one wasn't so. That one was more like a 50-50. I'm trying to think who suffered the nastiest one, because there's one where I can't remember who did it, but there's one where Everton player comes in through the back on a header and just cleans the dude out. The Ja'Cory Hayes one was tough because it was a 50-50 ball, and he just ends up getting kicked because they're both jousting for it.
And Ja'Cory Hayes ends up with a tib-fib fracture, and he is done for the season. So you won 4-0, but you lose Ja'Cory Hayes, and then you turn around, and Reynoso, a bit of a knock in that one as well, but you beat Houston on the road by the score of 2-1. Houston, by the way, was a minus 111 by the time the match kicked off. Minnesota was close to a plus 285 on the road, but Minnesota comes up with the big number there. Chicago, we've mentioned what Chicago has been up to recently. Winning in Vancouver by the score of 3-1. Chicago has now won 3 in a row, and they're at 26 points, 7 wins in 22 matches. They're one of those teams right now that is a point above Atlanta United. Same number of wins, one more draw with that extra match with Chicago. But Chicago seems to have found their sea legs. It just took them 19 matches to do it.
Yeah, and I can't figure them out because they started the season pretty well. They were a mess.
Yeah.
And now they are back to doing pretty well, like scoring goals.
Exactly.
I still don't know whatever to make of Vancouver at any given moment because Vancouver is just as schizophrenic in a different way. Chicago's going to be an interesting challenge for Atlanta because Atlanta has been an absolute tire fire the last 2 times they went to Chicago to play. Like the kind of games where you could turn it off in the first 30 minutes, you weren't going to miss anything. Go back to, I think it was 2018. I think it was 2018. They actually won in Chicago. I think it was Barco's first goal. I think it won a 2-1 game in Chicago then. But yeah, ever since then, Atlanta's been an absolute mess whenever they go to Chicago. And after dropping points in LA, they have to go get at least a point in Chicago. So you have to turn that trend around. Is it tough? Yes, but you've put yourself in a situation where you're going to have to continuously do tough things.
Yes. Also on the board, looking at matches. I think we have the Canadian Championship tonight. And speaking of Vancouver, and Vancouver and Toronto FC. Right now, Vancouver, get this. This is 10 o'clock Eastern for those who can find a place to watch it. It's probably going to be on FS2 for those of you that have FS2. But Vancouver right now is a favorite at home in the Canadian Championship at a plus 127 at BC Place. Your 90-minute draws a plus 231. Toronto FC is a plus 179. And the head coach of the Vancouver Whitecaps, Vanni Sartini, is having none of it. If you are coming to BC Place to root on Italian soccer players that are wearing different jerseys. Vanni Sartini, Jarrett, is having none of it. You will come and support your Vancouver Whitecaps one way or the other for this match.
Vancouver's in a weird spot. As the Cascadian team that doesn't have a MLS Cup under their belt, they are kind of in a weird spot. They're pushing for it. They went and spent a lot of money to bring in Julian Gressel to help try and supply their attackers up top. We'll see how it pans out long term. It should fit with him playing on a wingback system because he can't play right back, and you get a lot better options playing on the right wing up top.
So, yeah, Canadian Championship tonight. And so Vancouver loses to Chicago, but at least they're at home, with Toronto winning at home and having to travel to Vancouver tonight for the 10 o'clock kick for the Canadian Championship. Berth to CONCACAF Champions League on the line. So keep an eye on that one as well late tonight. We talked about Seattle and Colorado. FC Dallas gets a 1-0 win at RSL. That one was a bit of a surprise. FC Dallas at a plus 262. Portland continues their recent form, winning at a minus 119, knocking off San Jose by the score of 2-1. Then on Sunday, the early game, where those of us who were watching MLS After Dark focused on Atlanta United and LA Galaxy, Red Bulls go to Q2 and pretty much rotated their entire side, and I think Gerhard Struber was even rotated as well. That's how many guys with U.S. Open Cup in the midweek, and that is tomorrow. You've got Orlando City and Red Bulls. You've got Sacramento Republic and Sporting Kansas City. U.S. Open Cup is tomorrow. So Gerhard Struber rotated his squad for this match against Austin. So, of course, what happens? Drew Yearwood scores.
They win an MLS After Dark.
Exactly. So it was.
And by the way, he made the absolute right choice. You're in a U.S. Open Cup semifinal. When you get to the quarterfinals of even the last 16 of MLS Open Cup or U.S. Open Cup, bet your ass you better be rotating. You better be taking that priority because that's a one-way ticket to the CONCACAF Champions League if you win it.
And the thing is that they had a substantial advantage. It was 2-0. It was 2-1 as Austin scored just before the half. Then Red Bulls score to make it 3-1 and 4-1. And then we are reminded, Jarrett, about what Sebastian Driussi has meant to Austin FC and what his impact can be here in Major League Soccer. Sebastian Driussi went on a bit of a rampage to get it to 4-3 for the final 10 minutes.
Driussi taking it on and taking it again! Well, he's a miracle worker. He's a game changer. And he goes to work once more. Single-handedly hauling his team back into life.
Are you kidding me? With this goal, Sebastian Driussi skins Drew Yearwood, sends him back to North Jersey, and what a hit this was. He picks his head up, and he knuckles that ball in the back of the net, goes for power, the technique, and it's a one-man show for Austin FC tonight. Sebastian Driussi.
CONCACAF Champions League final against the Seattle Sounders. He's calling for it here, Driussi, giving it to him, Caruso! Oh yes, it's Finlay! And it's 4-3! And Austin are right back in it! And Caruso has an assist immediately upon starting his Austin career. And Ethan Finlay sends the Verde and Black Army into ecstasy. There's still work to do. Nobody's celebrating on the field. But how about this, Michael?
What a warm welcome to Austin, Texas for Washington Caruso. Some of the goals and some of the assists in these games have been out of this world. And when he went for the acrobatic Didn't know what to think about that, but it falls to Ethan Finley, and this is credit to Ethan Finley. We've seen him do more of this, getting across the face of this goal, gambling. When it goes over his head, just being more active, getting his feet set, and gambling on that ball. It's rewarded in the goal, and these fans are rewarded in the beer shower.
And it includes,
yeah, man, he's been absolutely insane.
Banger from 25, an absolute banger. Adrian Healy and Mike LaHood got to call that one. So here's your greatest hits for Sebastian Driussi trying to mount a comeback for Austin against Red Bulls, courtesy of Austin FC, their own selves in Major League Soccer. So Austin right now stays in second place in the West, even though they had their 3-game win streak snapped with their last 2 results, with 1 point in the draw, and then you had the draw with the FC Dallas in the Copa Tejas, and then you had the 4-3 loss at home. Brad Stuver was in health and safety protocols, so Andrew Tarbell got the start for Austin FC. Had an absolute howler for the first goal that was allowed on the day. But yeah, absolutely crazy match. Austin averaging more than 2 goals a game, 45 scored this year. They've only given up 28, but when you've got Brad Stuver in net, it's easy to see why. Austin, Jarrett, still hanging in there, and there's a lot of space between 2 and 3 right now. Austin's got some wiggle room right now to be second in the West, 7 points clear of Minnesota United.
And Minnesota's another one that just keeps on winning games. It's not always perfect. They got statistically knocked around a bit in that game, but they won where it matters. Austin does enough to keep winning games, but Austin's also kind of perplexing, in my opinion, at times, where I'm like, y'all do enough to be in that conversation, but every time I'm waiting for you to take that huge next step, they just don't. They lose games they shouldn't lose in weird ways, but then they win games in dominating fashion sometimes. Looking at the Atlanta game, for instance.
Yes.
It's very chaotic. The entire West is chaotic. And yeah, like we said earlier, LAFC should be your favorite, but it's a one-off and it's a playoff. And man, I saw a number of people from Austin actually talking about, like, wondering, like, man, where would we be without Driussi being what he's been? Because I don't know where they would be, but he has been stupid good.
Yeah. And Cecilia Dominguez has been released by Austin FC. He's been picked up by Liga MX, and it looks like Austin is already lining up the replacement. So that DP slot from Cecilia Dominguez should be filled in fairly short order when it comes to Austin FC and their attack. Jarrett, before you go, we've got Champions League qualifying today. That's where we are in the schedule. We got Champions League qualifying back.
What's happening? Who's qualifying?
Let's see. We got matches. We got 6 today and 6 tomorrow. So this is some of the best stuff here. This is club match name delight. Today at 11:30, Larnaca from Cyprus against Midtjylland. So for those of you that are tied to Michael Parkhurst, you're reading into the road favorite there. Victoria Pilsen and HJK from Finland. Our boys from Moldova, Sheriff Tiraspol, are in. Big favorite against Maribor from Slovenia. Dudelange from Luxembourg against Punic Yerevan from Armenia. Shamrock Rovers is against Ludogorets Razgrad from Bulgaria. And then Shkupi from Macedonia, I believe, is going up against Dinamo Zagreb. So let's root for Shkupi at 3 o'clock against Dinamo Zagreb. So that's the 6 that are going on for Champions League today.
Yeah, you love to see it. And then we also will soon be getting, like, Europa Conference League qualifiers with teams that you didn't know existed. Don't lie. That's
Nope.
okay.
You did not know they existed. Europa Conference League, by the way, just actually, that is today. That starts today. And it is today, tomorrow, and the big day is on Thursday. Thursday is the big day for Europa Conference League, where 46 matches are on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, Lincoln Red Imps today.
Yep, against Tobol of Kazakhstan.
Yeah, the new Saints against Vikingur Reykjavik.
Uh-huh.
Cluj is back.
Yeah.
Like they never left. AIK is playing. Kabbalah.
Uh-huh.
Again, Molde playing Elfsborg. Slavia Praha is involved.
So you're getting into Thursday already, but yeah, today Lincoln Red.
Yeah, we're just. I mean, this is. It's worth getting ahead of things, guys. Come on, let's be honest.
Yeah, Wales and Iceland and the FC Balkani from Kosovo going up against the San Mariners club of La Fiorita. So that's, and Balkani, by the way.
AUK is in action Thursday at Rapid Vienna.
Oh, yeah. A lot of the greatest hits that we know of in Europa Conference League, they're going on Thursday. 46 freaking matches for the Europa Conference League all day Thursday.
Also, Motherwell. Oh, Motherwell lost to Sligo Rovers. God, that was amazing. Good job, Motherwell. You got a Europa Conference League spot, and you lost the first leg to Sligo.
Uh-huh.
Nice work.
Anywho. I think it's time for me to cut a promo.
I think it is.
So here is that promo. It's time to catch up with our friends at Eliminize Service. So Eliminize for odor-free, clean, fresh air. One place that you need to go, and it is Eliminize Service. They deodorize enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize Service to eliminate bad odors and help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment. We like that these days. It is a green way of going about getting rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or your favorite masking agent that you have under the sink, because when you reach under the sink or go through the cabinet, whichever place you have your masking agent, you spray it in the air. Basically, that's what you're doing. You're just masking the odor. You're not attacking the problem all the way down to the molecule, like Eliminize does with their proven scientific formula, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place that you need to go, and it is Eliminize Service. Go to their website, eliminize.com, but do us a favor here at SDH. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are reaching out to them from to ask them about fixing your problems. So your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com, eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. Time to take a tour through what we've got going on in your viewing habits for today. We've got all of your plans and figuring out what you want to watch and all that kind of stuff with all of the matches going on. Jarrett and I talked about Champions League. I think there's a couple of Europa Conference League matches as well, and so we'll get into that Canadian Championship. We'll run through the gamut, and if it's not on Paramount Plus, which those of us here in Office HD subscribe to, you can go to Fanatis, FNTZ.co /soccer down here, and you can get subscribed that way. So Fanatis. Jason got me hooked, so I blame Jason for my addiction for having Fanatis as one of my streaming services that we have here in Office HD. One of the Euro semifinals is today, and we'll get into those numbers coming up in just a little bit. Looking at Christian Eriksen and Lisandro Martinez, they've both arrived at Manchester United's Carrington training ground, so they've arrived to link up with their teammates for the first time. Paulo Dybala now at Roma, quoting him from AS Roma's website. Clearly the number 10 shirt, hugely important to the fans. Number 21 is an important number to me. I've worn it before and had success wearing it too. I want to do that here as well. You never know what the future holds, but I'm happy with the number 21 shirt. I spoke with the coach, the general manager, the president. They really explained to me the targets and approach they have, knowing how they are building the team. I didn't have any doubt. So Paulo Dybala will be wearing 21 with his time at AS Roma. Robert Lewandowski had a press conference in Las Vegas after the matches on the weekend. Hopeful that the club can challenge for all the major honors in the upcoming season. News on Bernd Leno in the Premier League. Bernd Leno looks like he's got a verbal agreement with Fulham about a contract until 2025 with 1 year optional. Now the clubs have to find an agreement between Fulham and Arsenal. Arsenal's demanding around a $10 to $11 million pound transfer fee. Leno is the desired number one of Fulham, courtesy of Florian Plettenberg and Sky Sports Germany. He wants to join Fulham. So according to Plettenberg, he has been told that Bernd Leno is looking good now. Positive movements in the negotiations between Fulham and Arsenal. Not a done deal yet. Agreement is expected. Verbal agreement since weeks and has reported exclusively there. So it looks like Bernd Leno might be heading to Fulham. We'll keep an eye on that one. 2 additions to Jesse Marsch's staff at Leeds United. Former Borussia Dortmund assistant Rene Maric set to join the club as an assistant manager. FA development coach Michael Skubala expected to take charge of the under-21s. Both appointments expected to be confirmed within the next few days. And take this for the grain of salt that it is. It's from the 4-letter newspaper. It looks like Leicester prepared to consider offers for Kasper Schmeichel with Nice, preparing a bid. 35-year-old now in the final year of his contract. Nearly 500 appearances for Leicester since joining Leeds 11 years ago. From Fabrizio Romano, Nordi Mukiele, after medical tests is completed with PSG, he's now at the Paris headquarters in order to sign the contract from RB Leipzig until June of 2027. So good news for fans of PSG if you're keeping an eye on them. Also on the board, Fenerbahce defender Kim Min-jae, currently undergoing a medical at Napoli. The South Korean international flew into Italy this morning, will sign his Napoli contract provided he passes medical checks at the Villa Stewart Clinic in Rome. Napoli view Kim as the long-term replacement for Koulibaly, who left for Chelsea, ready to meet the £17 million release clause. Rennes were ready to pay the same amount, but the player chose to move to Italy after Napoli officials flew to Istanbul to close the deal last week. Everton were also linked as well. Bayern Munich, we talked about Mathys Tel in weeks past. Bayern Munich have confirmed the signing of teenage striker Mathys Tel from Rennes. Sky in Germany understands Bayern have agreed to pay the £24 million dollar figure, including add-ons for the 17-year-old. The France under-18 striker became Rennes' youngest first-team debutant last season at the age of 16 years and 110 days. So Mathys Tel goes to Bayern, so we'll keep an eye on that one as well. Also, looking at things on the board, Cristiano Ronaldo has arrived at the United training ground with his agent Jorge Mendes. The pair is set to hold talks with Erik ten Hag over his future there. Obviously, we talked about Eriksen and Martinez wandering in the door, but right now, Atletico Madrid was interested, they would have to clear £40 million off the books to even get within the ballpark with any kind of desire of getting Cristiano Ronaldo. So they'd have to keep an eye on that one. Juve is looking to Chelsea's Timo Werner or Anthony Martial if they cannot sign Morata, according to Sky in Italy. Nottingham Forest have agreed to a £13 million deal to sign Stuttgart midfielder Oro Mangala. We talked about that one yesterday. Set to become their 12th summer signing. Gianluca Scamaccia is having his West Ham medical this morning ahead of his £35.5 million move from Sassuolo. And that catches us up from the headlines, but getting into the paper talk and what's going on with all of the newspapers, and once again avoiding the 3-letter and the 4-letter when it comes to any information, gossip, rumor, or innuendo. The Times has Jules Koundé signing a 4-year deal to join Barcelona from Sevilla. Daily Star, Cesc Fabregas. Did you see this yesterday? Cesc Fabregas set to announce his move to Serie B side Como favorites to sign, and so Como is a favorite to sign Cesc Fabregas. And I think he's already worn the shirt. So Cesc Fabregas to Serie B side Como, according to our friends at the Daily Star. Also on the board, Daily Mirror, and we've talked about Mukiele. Diego Costa could be lining up against Manchester United this weekend as he closes in on a move to Rayo Vallecano, who will be Erik ten Hag's first Old Trafford opponents. Also on the board, Leicester will apparently resist all attempts from Newcastle to try and grab £50 million rated England winger Harvey Barnes. Keep an eye on that one. And from the Daily Record, Hibs are being linked with a move for Nacional defender Joaquin Sosa, a Uruguay youth international currently on loan to Liverpool Montevideo, and moved from Dundee United, set to add another Australian to the squad. Left back Aziz Behic closing in on a move to Tannadice. Getting into your viewing schedule for today, and there's a lot. Trust me, there's a lot. So we mentioned what was going on in Champions League, and that has various start times across the board, starting at 11:30. And so Champions League starts at 11:30, goes until 3 o'clock. The handful of matches in Europa Conference League start at noon and work their way through the afternoon. You've got a couple of friendlies on the board for those of you that really want to look for action between clubs, just trying to figure out who they're going to keep, where they're going to place them, those kinds of things. You got friendlies that kick off about 1 o'clock Eastern time in the afternoon. The Arab Cup U20 is going on. That one's also in the middle of the afternoon. Friendlies kicking off at 2:45. The Champions League kicking off at 3. The Euro, we mentioned that one. England and Sweden, one semifinal, 3 o'clock. England right now, minus 109. Your draw's a plus 227, and Sweden is a plus 326. So England, after surviving in the last round of the knockouts, now in the semis, in the round of 4, in the round of 8, barely made it through, but they've got they're the home favorite with Sweden. And that one kicks off at 3 o'clock. In South America, you've got various countries with action going on: Peru, Brazil, Colombia, Chile. Liga de Expansión tonight in Mexico at 6:05. Atlante and Dorados, Bolivia, Paraguay, Peru once again. Liga Profesional in Argentina has 7 o'clock kicks. Arsenal Sarandi, Rosario Central, Baracas Central, and Patronato. 3 matches in Liga MX tonight at 8 o'clock. Atlas Tijuana, and Atlas is a minus 141. Your draw is a plus 257. And Club Tijuana is north of plus 400. Monterrey and Puebla. Monterrey is a minus 189. Your draw is a plus 313. Puebla is a plus 507 in the composite. And at FC Suarez tonight, Tigres is visiting Tigres, the road favorite, at a plus 114. Your draw is a plus 227. Suarez is a plus 242. CONCACAF League action going tonight as well at 8 o'clock. It is Waterhouse from Jamaica. We've heard of them before. And their time in the tournament, they're a plus 144 at home, hosting Pacific FC out of the Canadian Premier League. Pacific is a plus 177. And your draw is a plus 213. Copa America Femenil, Brazil and Paraguay. Brazil, big favorite tonight. Colombia knocked off Argentina last night in the Copa America Femenil. League One action tonight as well. Forward Madison and Union Omaha in the midweek. Reminder, we'll have the week in review for USL League One coming up later this afternoon. Liga de Expansión at 8:05. Barca and Juve, that is the 8:30 match that is out west. And so look at that one. Barca and Juve. Barca's a minus 147. Your draw and Juve are both a plus 313. The Canadian Championship at 10 o'clock out at BC Place. We talked about that one. Vancouver, big favorite right now at a plus 127 against Toronto FC at a plus 179. Your draw's a plus 234. CONCACAF League at 10 o'clock. It is Aguila from El Salvador and Alajuelense from Costa Rica. Alajuelense is a slight favorite at a plus 147. Your draw's a plus 200. And Aguila is a plus 184. Liga Expansión at 10:05, as well as Liga MX at 10:05. Atlético San Luis and Cruz Azul. Atlético San Luis is a favorite in the midweek at a plus 154. Your draw's a plus 213. Cruz Azul is a plus 186. León hosting Toluca is a minus 115. The draw and Toluca to win, both of them the same, within 5 points of each other, basically at plus 280. And then your late night friendly, Real Madrid and Club America. Real Madrid's a minus 476. Club America is basically a plus 950, and your draw's a plus 550. So there's a lot of action starting at 11:30 with Champions League, Europa League, Women's Euro semifinals, and then the nighttime. Make sure that your batteries and your remotes and your multiple devices are charged, because there is a lot going on and a lot to talk about. We'll talk about it again all tomorrow. Thanks to everybody who's listened. Thanks to everybody who has sent in thoughts on Twitter, as always, and that will take you through the world of football. Soccer Down here for your Tuesday thoughts. Thanks, as always, for them. We'll come back tomorrow with a Wall Pass Wednesday and find out what's on your mind. Any question is a good question on a Wall Pass Wednesday. So for Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, I'm just John. Play it safe, everybody. Enjoy your day. Mucho platio.